We're live. We're also recording. I'm gonna wait and see if anyone jumps on before I start talking. And really, I just want to talk. So if you guys are on, I greatly appreciate it. I really wanted to see what's on your hearts and mind. Also, if you are reading this or hearing this, left a little note for you. Tell me where you're from, and we'll go from there because there's a lot of us here. We have crossed over the threshold of 10,000 followers in general, but I've been tracking it by likes, and so I'm going to continue to track it by likes and go from there. Really just had a lot on my mind today, and I kind of wanted to talk. I wrote a piece for the website that we have. I haven't published it yet. I need to go back and edit it, but I wanted to kind of that real quick. I realized the name of the piece was called Chasing Pavements, and it's based off of a song from Adele. Love her voice, wonderful singer, and she sings this song, says, should I give up or should I just keep chasing pavements even if it leads nowhere? Or would it be a waste? I can't remember the rest of the words. Even if I left this place, something like that. Anyway, the point of it is, should you continue to go down a path that you've already seen the results of, that don't seem to be fruitful, you already know that it doesn't lead anywhere, or should you make a move to go in a different direction? In my piece, I looked at it as what our types of relationships, our friends, what we actually do. We are creatures of habit, and a lot of times we don't want to change the way we do things. And so I was thinking about that. It's like, okay, how do I change the things I want? We look at our environment and we assume that this is the way it's always is. Even though it's not the way it's always been, we assume that that's the way it's always going to be. April B, I appreciate you. Thanks for joining on today. Just jump in with any comments or questions. I'm not going to try to be on long, but I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit. But the piece was talking about the piece that I was writing, Chasing Pavements, is that at times we want change in our life. We recognize that there's certain things that are not right in our life, but we still continue to hold on to those because this is what we know versus what we don't know. Marty, appreciate you. So April, you're in Pennsylvania. Marty, not Marty, Mark, forgive me. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Sorry. Mark, Pennsylvania, appreciate you guys. But here we go. I'm going to say my piece and then I'm going to greet you guys. Thanks for joining. The point being is, what do we do? What do we do? Do we stay in the same situation, the same relationship, the same friends, the same job, or do we venture out and we trust God? In my piece that I wrote, I realized I am, hey Rose, the type person who, if I have a track record of what's broken and not really working in my life, I'm the type person at this stage in my life, I gotta make some new changes. I got to make some new changes. And so what my goal is today is just to kind of hear your thoughts on this. It's like, how long do we stay in certain situations, bad relationships, bad marriages, bad friendships, bad work and employment and things. And even, listen, here's the point. Even if it's quote unquote not bad per se, are you ultimately fulfilled in getting the most out of what you're doing? Are you getting the most out of what you're doing? Bradley, welcome. You said me too, but what exactly are you referring to? What piece are you referring to? Talk to me, baby. All right. So listen, when is enough enough? Or when do we start making a move towards the new things? Ultimately, listen, even if you decide to stay in that relationship, in that job, and those situations in your life, you're still going to have to make some moves because you can't continue to chase pavements and continue to do the same thing. So either two things are going to have to change. Either you change your ways or you change your environment. And I read a post that was saying how I forget I can't remember what it was, but essentially what they were saying is you take the same thing, whatever it was, and you put it in this environment, it becomes this. You put it in this environment, it becomes that. The difference is the environment. I wish I could find that post real quick, but it's not coming to mind. And so sometimes we have to change our environment. And listen, if the environment is not, say, the things around you, sometimes you got to change your mind. I was talking to my son last night, and he's dealing with something with his roommates, and these are friends that he's had all his life, and now he's growing up and he's developing. I told him these things before he went to school, that sometimes at this stage you start to grow. This is where people find their purpose, and they start moving. They start moving into other directions. And so I said, you gotta be mindful that you gotta stay on your focus, because they may start doing other things now that they're here. So they're having issues, and he begins to say, Dad, I can't stand it here. I said, they're doing this, they're bringing girls over, they got dogs, pooping in the room and all kinds of craziness. I said, son, you gotta hold out. Two things I wanted him to know is, one, these are the decisions that you made, and you can't really do anything about it other than control how you behave yourself. And two, you realize you're outgrowing these particular friends. And so you got to control yourself and how you deal with them, so that when you leave peacefully and don't cause any strife, and you go about your business. Bradley, you said, I'm struggling with changing my old ways of thinking. Seems harder than I thought it would be. That is so true. But you got, okay, so here's the thing. I don't believe you can just go 0 to 100 real quick. You got to take that time. You got to begin to change certain movements. When I begin to change my diet to a plant-based diet, I moved from, we took away pork for 2 weeks, and then picked that up. Then I took away beef, and then I took away chicken, and then I took away seafood. By the time I got to just the vegetables and things like that, I had already started weaning myself off the other stuff in order to change how I live. By the time I got to just doing seafood, I realized there's other stuff that I could eat instead of pork, beef, and chicken. So you see what I'm saying? A lot of times we want to change everything so quickly once we get a revelation, but then we really need to take time to walk these things through. That will be my suggestion. And here's the other thing, Bradley, if you're still on, if you're listening, hope you're still there. The other thing that keeps us sometimes from moving or changing our old ways is the people around us, because they see us, they know us how we've always been. They know you ain't doing this, you ain't about this, you do this. But the moment you decided to start doing things differently, they start taking notice, and they want you to forget. I don't know why this analogy is coming to my head, but imagine for all your life, you start eating red grapes, just the red grapes, the purple ones, right? You're just eating purple grapes, and your friends, and they know that if they're going to bring you some grapes, they bring you a purple one, because that's all they know, right? And then all of a sudden you decide, you know what? I want the green ones. I want the white grapes. I want those grapes in my life. I experienced something new. They're still grapes, but I want this particular grape in my life. Your friends, who may not understand that you have changed and that you have developed, will do what? Still bring you those purple grapes, right? Those red grapes. But now you don't want that anymore. And they're looking at you because of that pressure, and they want you to still do what you've always done, because they've invested, hear me, they've invested in a certain person. Yes, you do have to be patient, and it's getting better, and you're getting better at it. And and ultimately that's what it is, what it amounts to. For anyone who watches this video or hears this video, I want you to begin to look at your life, what you want in your life, knowing that there is such a thing as chasing payments in our life, to where we know what we should do, but we don't do it for whatever reason. Ultimately, I can use your outside environment, but as I've been preaching over the last couple of weeks, if you've been listening to some of the clips and different things, we control our environment, we control what we do. As a matter of fact, in that conversation last night with my sons in the group messing with my boys, I sent him that clip that I preached about us controlling our environment by our minds. And so what we take in. So ultimately, we own what is around us, good or bad. The decision that you make or have made in your life are the results of things that you've allowed or that you put in place. So ultimately, the only person who's going to be able to change it is you. But it's going to take time. You're going to have to build an environment. What I've built so far, even in my household, is the understanding that, hey, I'm committed to this page. I do videos. So, please keep that in mind when you're going through and making a lot of noise. I'm committed to this ministry. So when I put stuff out, hey, like the prayer requests and things like that, I'm committed to praying for you guys. Even though I submitted it to the church and I've asked them to pray for it, if nobody else pray for it, you're my family, you're my connection. You're the guys who, as I am a actual pastor in the church, but I'm also trying to oversee those who would allow me in ministry here. And so we want to be able to minister there. And so I have created an environment of understanding that this is what we do. You got to create that environment about this is what you do, this is who you are. If I've created an environment that this is how I eat now, this is so don't bring anything that I used to do in my life unless you are trying to pull me in another direction. And if you are, I have to ask myself why you're trying to pull me in another direction that is not what I should be doing. So listen, let me hear your thoughts on this. I'm in here for 11 minutes or so. We can continue to talk. If you got some more comments, I'm open to hear and share with you. Listen, but that's ultimately what I want. What hinders us? Let's answer this question. What hinders us from going forward and making that move? Is it a lack of trust in God? Or is it a lack of trust in yourself? Or are you afraid to turn over a couple tables like Jesus did? Think about it. Because look, he went into a situation, saw that the Father's house, God's house, was not what it was supposed to do. He comes in there whipping these guys out and tearing up stuff, playing with their money, and they got upset because they were messing around with his money, the money, and mixing things in the house of God and making it a commerce thing as opposed to reaching out spiritually and those type things. And they got upset with him because he made those changes even the more. Now, they wanted to kill him for other reasons, but when you start playing with people's money, they really get upset. So what are the things? So the fear of the unknown. Okay, that is good. So let's deal with that. The fear of the unknown. Thank you, Lord. Because what usually happens, April, is we know what we have. We know what we have is we know the results. I've been messing around with stocks lately. And so one of the things that you realize is that you take a chance on this particular stock that over time it's going to increase. And if it increase, you end up making a profit. And if you don't increase, you end up losing something or whatever where you may gain somewhere else, right? They do it all the time in other areas of investing and all that kind of stuff. There's a chance that you may lose something or you may gain something. But here's the point. You cannot win unless you're in. You cannot win in your life unless you make those chances and leaps of faith in certain things. Now, when we're trusting God, that is a sure thing. That is the most sure thing. You know you're going to reap the benefits or the result. And here's the best thing. That is the whole point. If you could see your blessing, then you wouldn't need God. You wouldn't need to trust in God. So let us remove the fear, because the Bible says perfect love casts away all fear. So ask yourself, is this thing that I'm moving to and I have this fear, is this of God that I should move in this area? Because God is God of love, and love and fear cannot reside in the same place. Faith and fear cannot reside in the same place. You can have faith and trust of the unknown because that's how it is. Okay. For people who don't understand, when you have faith, the evidence that you have faith is that you don't see it. Okay. It's like, for example, if I walk into this room and there's no chair and I sit down and miraculously there's a chair, the fact that I sat down is the faith. It doesn't require me to have faith if the chair is already here. Okay. So that's how faith works. Faith works in the fact that you don't see it. It's not anything you can see of your own, but in the mind of God and the vision of God that you've placed, that you have in yourself, it is so. So here's the deal. Let's move. Let's move to a point where we can remove the fear and the doubt and begin to trust. Just try. Like I always said, you got to be in it to win it. Like we use these sweepstakes and different things like that. You try, like, okay, for example, we're about to do a 10K giveaway, right? You would tell, some people would tell me I should just give it away to just random people, whoever, right? But no, but God is leading me to say, hey, for those who are invested, continue to invest into the ministry by doing blah, 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 and you have the chance to win. But if you don't submit, you can't win. Only the people who are submitted and work in there, and there's another thing, submit to God, and you can win. So let's look at our life. What do we want? That's a good one, Bradley. Good one, April. Anyone else watching, what keeps us from moving forward in the things of God? Because here's the kicker about that. Ultimately, we know in our heart, God has already provided some clues and answers of what we should do, but we don't make those moves. Can I tell you a story real quick? Because if nobody else comments, I'm gonna shut this down in less than 3 to 4 minutes. So there was an issue at work, right? And there was a job that was opening up. Previous to that, I was sent from my boss to inquire about whether these guys should take this particular, like if they wanted this job in the future. It's like 6 months ago, 3 to 6 months ago. And to the man, and I went back multiple times, these people who I know will be qualified for this position decided that they didn't want to, for whatever reasons, political reasons, not work political stuff, not government political, but they decided that they just didn't want it. To the point where I was vexed in my spirit. I'm like, y'all keep turning me down. I'm trying to help you out, better your life, those type of things. They may be set in their life. I don't know, but it's not my responsibility. So when the job or a job similar to that finally did open, and we had a meeting, and they asked me, they said, well, who would you pick? I named the fourth person on the list because I had talked to the first three multiple times and they had shut me down by their faith. And I can't work with that if I'm to be the leader over them and work with them. And so I went to the fourth person who's not as knowledgeable as some of them, but she hasn't had the opportunity. And I chose her. And ultimately she got the position. And later on, people were like, well, we should have been asked. We should have been asked for the position. Yes, I've asked already. I asked you multiple times. Well, you should have asked me this time. It's not left up to me. Well, I made a choice that I wasn't going to go back anymore after you turned me down 3 or 4 times. I'm not going to do that. I see a pattern of behavior. I don't want to put my voice behind that. And it had a little weight to it. I'm going to move in a different direction. 2 things. You have 2 choices to make because there's some other positions that may open up. You can either learn from your position or you can get mad at me because I didn't select you. A lot of times in life, the point is, a lot of times in life, instead of going after things, we want people, we want God to come down and just give us this money, give us this wife, give us this husband, give us this life that we want. God, just give it to us. But the truth is that unless we change how we do business in life, if God were to give those things to us, the job, the wife, the husband, the life, the children, we will ultimately find a way to mess it up. I think I did one piece that I wrote is reference to the lottery. The studies show that within 5 years, most people who win the lottery end up losing that particular money that they won in the lottery because they did not know how to make it and maintain it. Well, excuse me, they didn't know how to make it, so they did not know how to maintain it. And soon after, they lost it. So for us, if God is to bless us, we're going to have to do some lead work. We're going to have to go after it. We're going to have to put ourselves in a position to be blessed and to receive the blessing and do the work. Lastly, let me say this as we close, because there are no other comments. If all other comments, we're going to shut it down. Lastly, as I close, if you look in the Bible, most of the guys who were called into ministry, Not only were they people who, or to greatness, if you would, not only were they people who you wouldn't think God would pick, but they were always working. They were always doing something first, and then God touched them and elevated them. God could trust them with the big things because, they were faithful over the little things. And that's scripture. If you are faithful over the little things, the small things, he will make you rulers over many. So what about the things in our life that we can do better in and be better in? Let's talk about that. Listen, if you would, thank you, April. I appreciate that. If you would, if you like what we're doing or what I'm doing right here, and you want to have these chats again in the future, put those in the comments. Consider sharing this word with somebody else who will hear us and join this family as we grow further. And ask God to give me wisdom into how to best minister to you and lead you so that we can all get to where God has called us to do and to be. God has called me to be a motivator, inspirator, and to preach the gospel for you guys and to the world and anyone else who will listen. And for the church, he's called me to bring them to perfection. And so this is what I've been doing. But I also want to be able to minister to you and to others so they can reach their goals, because it may not be exactly what I'm doing, but what does God have for you? Listen, I've been long and you've been very patient, and I hope I earned the value of your time. I didn't keep you too long. Listen, we'll do this again if you want to. I think we had a good experience. Thank you for all those that comment. If you're watching this after the fact, please comment. Like I said, considering liking the post, sharing the comment, and let me know what you think. If you don't like it, let me know as well. I'm open. You can't hurt my feelings because I control my feelings. All right? Listen, family, I love you. Go in peace and have a wonderful, God bless day. I'll catch you later. Please.